Well, hello and welcome to Gardening with Granny. So glad that you're here to be with me. This is week 3 of the Every Bit Counts challenge that Jessica from Three Rivers Homestead initiated at the beginning of August. If you are just starting your challenge, that's great. I applaud you that you are creating this challenge. The rules are totally up to you. There is no fail. Um, every part of putting food away, supporting your family with healthy food is all a learning experience. Most of us do not have a degree in preparedness for your pantry. Excuse me. And if you are just starting your journey, by you setting the rules means that you determine how much you can handle. For some days, it may be just picking some herbs and tying it up and hanging it up. That is putting food away. And one of the days that I'm going to talk about, it was that simple. So some days are just too chuck full, and you can't do anything. And you know what? That's okay. There's no fail. Uh, the goal is that every day, try your best to put something away for in your storage for either long term or for short term use so that food doesn't go to waste. Now, sometimes that's harvesting from your garden, and sometimes that's harvesting from your freezer that you forgot about that got stuck way in the back, but you are using it. And that happened this week to me too. So I hope that you enjoy the videos that I put together, even some of the still shots, because I don't always have time to create a video, but I have time to snap a couple of pictures. And this week was a busy week. We are strong into harvest season. Things are coming in. Next week, we'll be talking about zucchini and cucumbers and how we're going to harvest all those tomatoes. And so week 4 is going to be pretty chock full of garden stuff. But week 3, some of the stuff I used uh, came from my freezer. Some of it was I created a veggie broth that is the base for lentil soup that we had, but I've got a lot left over. I've got some wonderful veggie broth that I can just shelf stable. And if I want to start a soup, I just take a half a cup of this and create a soup for my husband and I. That can be the base, as I have chicken broth, um, beef broth, a variety of broths, turkey broth, and most of them are made from bones. But of course, vegetables don't have bones. So it is a good vegetarian base. And if you want to, you can add meat to it. But if you have a vegetarian friend and they're not feeling well and you want to make a nice soup for them, there you have it. And I show you how I did that. This is I cooked some tomatoes. I didn't have enough to can, but I had enough to fill a freeze dry tray. And this has herbs in it. It is a delightful base for any kind of tomato-based soup that I might want to have. So I'm going to show you what I did with that. These were interesting. I had like a cucumber and a half that if I didn't use up, they were going to go bad. So I made some chips, cucumber chips. They are crispy. I don't know if you can hear how crispy they are. And they're quite delicious. Now, a couple of uses for this is you can crumble them up, stick them on a salad for a nice crispy, if you don't want to use like croutons or your keto friendly, this would be a great option for a nice keto salad. Some of the other things I did was I showed you how I have elephant garlic growing. Unfortunately, it's deep into my herb garden, and I tried digging some of the cloves up or the bulbs up, and I don't have the strength to do that. But on many occasions, I have picked the blossom heads, and each one of these, after they dry, you can crumble and add to salads. I have put like a tablespoon of it in soup. It has a very light garlicky taste to it. Another thing I did was I found a bag of blueberries that had been in the freezer, and unfortunately the freezer door was left open. And of course, when we noticed it, we closed it. And then I realized that there was a bag of blueberries in there that kind of defrosted and froze again into one hard lump. So I defrosted it. And you're like, what do you do with 3 pounds of blueberries? You make jam. Now, I want to tell you my trick in making jam. You know, most of the time when you make like strawberry or any kind of a berry jam, the berries tend to float to the top. And my trick is that after you take it out of the hot water, you leave it set. And when it's just warm and cool enough to touch, I will shake it. And doing that breaks up the jelly part and lets the fruit float through. And so this jam will have not just a layer of jelly down at the bottom, but it will have fruit throughout the jam. So that's my little trick. I know they tell you, leave it on the counter and don't touch for 24 hours. Well, after you do that shaking, make sure that you're putting your hand totally on the lid. You don't shake it like this, but you still have the ring on it, and you put your finger totally on the lid. So there's no pressure against that lid. And it's gonna can. At least mine do. I've been doing that for years. Because I don't like fruit all at the top, and then you open it and you got to try to stir it all around. And so anyway, those are some of the things that stay tuned and you'll see in the video next. And until next week, this is Mary, Gardening with Granny, and Health to Home. Thanks. I will post the recipe below in the description. rotating the bowl, hopefully coating the slices, and we'll just see. Who knows? Well, my dehydrator has been running for about 17 hours. It probably was done a while ago, but I was busy in the morning, and so I'm now just getting to it. So let's shut it off. And look at these. Now they're still a little bendable, but they feel crispy, and I think they're going to be just fine. They're sort of like a potato chip that has a vinegary dill flavor to them. And so I'm going to serve them to my husband and see what he thinks. And we're going to pack them in a jar with, it's called dry to dry. And so it's a packet that you put in the jar to keep your product dry. So let's do that. I mean, you can kind of hear that they're crunchy. And I only did 1 3/4 cucumbers, so maybe 9 inches of a cucumber is basically what I did. And they do have some olive oil. The recipe called for marinating them in olive oil and apple cider vinegar and salt. And I feel the olive oil on my fingers, and that might be one of the reasons why they're not as crisp as I anticipated, was that little bit of olive oil. I also used just a touch of balsamic vinegar to give it more flavor. And it looks like we're going to fit all of these chips in this jar. And I think it was a great test thing, and maybe it's something you can try with your, you'll notice that the cucumber seeds are not the smallest. And so it's a good way to use a cucumber that you normally wouldn't want to use for fresh eating. So there we are. So the broth is dry, and we're putting it in quart jars. Today we're going to harvest the elephant garlic heads. I usually like to harvest one of them. Each little flower makes a wonderful addition to dishes. You can put 4 or 5 flowers on salad, and it has a gentle garlic taste. These garlic blooms are easy to use. Generally what I do is I let them sit on my windowsill and they become dry, and then if I want to use it, I just simply cut off a few of the buds, and they add flavor to like potato salad, or if you're doing like a creamy dish or something like that, it adds a lovely little flavor to your creamy dish. So if you have elephant garlic that you can hardly get to and certainly can't dig up, use the bloom. So this is the bag of blueberries that was frozen, and then the door of the freezer was left open for a time, and then it
got refrozen into one solid mass. So I decided to take it out. I think there was probably close to 3.5 pounds. I don't think I had used much out of it because it was a pretty full bag, but it had been opened, so I decided to turn it into a cobbler and some blueberry jam. And with the rest, I made this blueberry jam, beautiful color, and so there we go. That's the end of the week.